Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. And Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayakala, and this is part 23 on the series of how do I know that I am a Hebrew Israelite, or how do I know that we are the Hebrew Israelites. And when I say we, I'm referring to the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and the natives of this land that you call America. And this is going to be probably the end of this, will probably be the end of this series, because this is the last 4 tribes of the 12 tribes of Israel. And we'll just be covering Naphtali, Benjamin, Manasseh, and Ephraim. And because we have gone over the progenitors of these tribes, all of the progenitors of these tribes, I'm not going to go too in depth on these, but I do want to give the Hebrew names of these tribes, and I am going to give you the whereabouts and the names that they go by today at this time. So we're going to go right into it, and this is not going to be very long. Like I said, I just want to touch on the names and where these tribes are today. And the first one that we're going to start with is going to be the tribe of Naphtali. And this is in Genesis. We're in Genesis 49, verse 21. And it says, Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Now the reference to Naphtali says is a hind let loose is referring to the gauchos, because Naphtali are the what we call the Argentinians and the Chileans today. So they are primarily a tribe that is in South America, and their Hebrew name is Naphtali, which means my dwelling. Like I said, this not a big verse, but it is covered in Genesis 49 and 21. And when it says a hind let loose, it's referring to the gauchos, and it's referring to they are expert. If you know anything about the gauchos, you can do a little bit of look up on Google, or Google them, and see what they are more in depth about how they are expert riders of horses. And they're also expert marksmen on riding on those horses as well. I saw a documentary on them, and they are expert. They can ride and shoot the bow and arrow while riding on that horse. So they are expert marksmen and expert horse riders. And when it's saying he giveth goodly words, it refers to at that time when they were being invaded and being conquered by the conquistadors. They gave kind words. They spoke kind words to the conquistadors. It says they possess, like I said, Argentina and Chile. So we could take a good look at the map here, just to get an idea of where they are. And as you can see, it says they possess the uttermost part of the west, along with the uttermost part of the south. and they're as far west in Chile, as you can see in South America, and also as far south that you see in Argentina. All right. Like I said, their name is Naphtali in the Hebrew, which means my dwelling. Now, the next two that we're going to cover also are the tribes of Manasseh and the tribe of Ephraim. And I'm going to try to kind of do them together because they were given pretty much the same blessing. It says, and I'm going to go ahead and read back in Genesis 49, verse 22. It says, Joseph is a fruitful bough, even a fruitful bough by a well whose branches run over the wall. And let's see what bough means. If we can get back in there. And bow in the Hebrew is 11:21, which says Bain. Bain means son, so he's a fruitful son. It says under first definition, it says son, grandson, child, or member of a group, and that is indeed what did occurs, because Joseph, his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, the grandsons of Jacob, are also, they make up 2 of the 12 tribes that are in the nation of Israel. All right, and the name Joseph itself in the Hebrew is Yawasap. And let's see if I remember right. It says Joseph, like I said in the Hebrew, is Yawasap, which means he will add. And that is indeed what did happen, because of his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. They added to the 12. They are 2 of the 12 tribes. So Joseph himself, added to the tribes. And the first one that I'll cover, let's see, let me go back here. We drop down to verse 26. It says, the blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, on a crown on the head of him that was separate from his brothers. So because Joseph was separated from his brothers and became like the second man, most powerful man in charge of Egypt, right behind Pharaoh. And he basically was responsible for being the governor and seeing Egypt through a time of a famine, which is when that famine occurred in the whole world, and it brought Jacob and his sons to reside in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, in that part of Egypt. And we went over that earlier when we read in another part when we were reading through the book of Genesis. But if you need to go back and refer to it, I suggest you do so. But Ephraim would be the Puerto Ricans, and in the Hebrew, it is the Ephraim is pronounced Aparayam, Aparayam, which means I am fruitful. And like I said, Ephraim along with Manasseh were given this, pretty much the same blessing, in that Ephraim would be very fruitful. That's what it means. It means I am fruitful. And you can find Puerto Ricans all over the world. I mean, of course, the Israelites are scattered all over the world, but Ephraim in particular, you can find in all parts of the world, all parts of America. I mean, they've come here to America. And like I said, they're in all parts of the world because he is fruitful. And if you wanted to read more, you can go into Genesis 48 and read more about Ephraim and read more about Manasseh there. And Manasseh, these are the Cubans. And in the Hebrew, it is Manasseh, which means made to forget. All right, and like I said, these are the Cubans. And just to look at our map, might as well take a look at it. We can get an idea and see where they are today. See if I can make that a little bit bigger. And you can see that's where the Cubans are there in the right at the southern tip of Florida. And if I'm not mistaken, that's about a 90-mile difference from Cuba to Florida. And then Puerto Rico, here just east of the Dominican Republic. All right. And like I said, I don't know if I pronounced it, but in the Hebrew, Manasseh is Manasseh, which means made to forget. And like I said, if you wanted to read more on that, you can go more into that in Genesis 48. All right. So let me go back here. All right, and the very last one that I want to go into is the tribe of Benjamin. And we're back in Genesis 49. In verse 27, it says, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf, and in the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. So Benjamin, these are the West Indians, or what we would call Jamaicans today. It says, and the Hebrew name is Benjamin, which means son of the right. They are very close to the father. All right, and when we're talking, and we read Genesis 49 and 27, it says, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf, which means they would utter let's see what that word raven means. It's H2963. And it is Taraf. Let me give you a pronunciation of it. I didn't give you a pronunciation of the other one. Let me give you a pronunciation of this one.
H2963. Taraf. Taraf.
And it means to tear, to rend, or to pluck. To tear or to rend. Let's see what the Strong says. To pluck off or pull to pieces. And that's how a wolf acts in the wild. The wolves hunt in packs. And these are characteristics of Benjamin. All right. It says, in the morning he shall devour the prey. And when it's speaking about in the morning, he shall devour the prey, is referring to when our Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai comes back, and Benjamin Benjamin, it represents the morning, represents the Lord returning, and at night he shall divide the spoil, which means at the downfall of Esau that he would devour his prey. All right. Just to back up, when it talks about Benjamin shall raven as a wolf, you can hear a lot of recording artists or songwriters and singers that come from Jamaica, or have origins in Jamaica, such as Bob Marley. There are other groups, how they always sing about Babylon and sing about the downfall of Babylon, and when they're singing about Babylon, they're referring to America, because that's what Babylon is. This is the new Babylon, and they always sang about the downfall of Babylon. And that was the words that they uttered. That's what they were ravening. That's what they were praying for, the downfall of this country, praying for the downfall of America, because of just the things that they've suffered, the things that they've gone through. Not only us here in America, but them in their lands also. Let me see if there's anything I wanted to add to it. I don't know if I did show them, but I'm going to take a look at a map again. And you can see Jamaica right below Cuba. So pretty much in this West Indies area, a lot of the southern tribes where they reside today are not only in South America itself, but in these various islands that you see in what we call the West Indies. Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Haiti. And we've covered all these tribes because, like I said, this is where a lot of the northern tribes are settled. Jamaica, Cuba, and of course we looked at South America earlier. All right, just to give you an idea of where these tribes have settled today. All right. And like I said, this is wasn't going to make this very long, but I did want to give you an idea as to where these tribes are today. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. And I pray that this has been edifying to the listener. I pray that it's given you a better understanding of who these peoples are today, the names that they're called today, and where they are today. Like I said, I pray that this has been edifying to the listener. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKadosh. Shalom.